supporters. It's not who they are, and they're proving it with the commitment, and we're also really glad that you're watching us as well. Listen, if you're watching the stream and you want to support the broadcast or maybe even future Breathe Free 2.0 seminars in the Waldo County area, why don't you leave us a like or a comment? One thing you can also do is you can go to the top of your screen and there's a URL, right? You can copy and paste that, send it in a Facebook message, send it in an email to someone and say, hey, listen, there are these free stop smoking seminars that are being put on in the Waldo County, Belfast area. And if you know of someone who's ready to take that step, we want to find them. We want to walk with them step by step, inch by inch, and assist them in their choice to get victory. But we're going to continue with the session today, and we're really looking forward to it. All right, so session 3, the detoxification continues. So congratulations, it has been 48 hours since break-free night. That's 2 days of no cigarettes. So I hope you were successful in not smoking. If not, no judgment. We are here to help you learn more strategies to continue breaking free. Today we're going to talk about some topics: grief, the role that grief can have with smoking, cancer, the role that cigarettes play in cancer, rational thinking, and some healthy strategies. So we've got quite a bit to talk about. Before we get going, is there anything you want to share about today? Did you find anything different about today than the past? Maybe handling a situation in a new way. If you don't feel comfortable sharing that, that's fine. But anything you want to bring to light here?
I found that today I wasn't as stressed out.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're not, because I saw you earlier today, and you're saying you were not as stressed out.
I was not as stressed out as I've been in days prior.
Now, do you attribute that to the smoking, or why do you think you were a little less stressed out?
It could be the not smoking, for a couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I don't know.
You don't know. It is what it is.
It is what it is, but I'm glad to not be as stressed out.
Well, I am glad that's your experience for sure. So I'm glad to hear that. So let's go forward in the lesson today. We already talked about the topics. We're talking about grief, the role of cigarettes to cancer, rational thinking. And now I'm going to show you why that's connected to grief. There are stages of grief. And when we're going through grief or something that mimics grief, we can do some irrational thinking. So we want to make sure we're engaging in rational thinking, and then, of course, some healthy strategies. So grief. What does grief have to do with smoking? Some people form an emotional relationship with tobacco, right? They have an emotional connection to it, and it's hard to quit. And there are stages to grief. Do you know any of the stages that people talk about just for grief in general, not even related to tobacco? Go ahead.
I know that there's 5 stages.
Yeah, exactly. There are.
And I could name them right off the top of my head at one point, but it's been a while.
Sure, fair enough. So this is for anything, not even related to tobacco. But when you're giving up tobacco, you are likely to go through these exact same stages. Yeah. The first is denial.
Yeah, that's right.
So denial. Number one, you deny that you're addicted. I can stop this anytime I want to. Right? That's the denial. You're denying that you're even addicted, number one. Number two, not only is there a denial in the addiction, there's a denial about the severity. Well, I may be addicted, but it's really not that big a deal because my grandfather smoked, he lived to be 99,
Minimizing.
Yes, exactly. So there's a denial about the issue. I'll actually go put these stages of grief here. There's a denial about being addicted at all. And if we do accept the denial about the addiction, we deny the severity of the issue. It's really not that big a deal. We kind of lessen the issue. Once we've accepted, okay, I'm addicted to tobacco and it is an issue, some bargaining can begin. So how would bargaining work with someone who's smoking? What kind of bargains would they make?
Well, I can have this one.
Boom.
And then, I'll be better and I won't have one, for a longer length of time or at all again.
That's it.
For sure.
I'm going to smoke this pack of cigarettes and then I'm done.
Then,
but I got this one, I'm going to smoke. Now, so you have the problem now, you're bargaining. You're making these little deals. I'm going to go one day and smoke a pack. That's why I'm so thankful. I'm so proud of everyone who's working on this program because you're past that. You're saying, I've got a problem. It's a big problem. I'm not denying it. And I'm not going to make bargains anymore. I'm going to do the work. So congratulations on that. There can be some emotion and anger. Why don't people just mind their own business? This is none of your business. So it's this emotional reaction to it as well. And it exactly mirrors the stages of grief. You can also anticipate a little bit of depression and loneliness. Now, some of that is psychological, but some of that also is because of the nicotine exiting your system. You used that to deal with stress, and now that's gone. Your system's going a little haywire. You can anticipate some depression and some loneliness as well. You can also anticipate some panic, right? Yeah. Because the nicotine was being used to deal with stress. Now the nicotine is gone, so you have all these stressors. That chemical is not there to address the situation. So panic, some people experience panic attacks. Something to deal with. Finally, there's guilt. When people begin to break free, they can feel a little guilty. Like, why did I even start doing this? Guilty about the need to go forward, guilty about a temporary setback. That is not, there's nothing to feel guilty about. And there's an interesting Bible verse that I want to quote with you. There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus, right? That Jesus takes all that guilt off of us. And when we feel guilty, when we judge ourselves and find ourselves unworthy, we're acting like we're the judge. And we're not the judge. So we don't have to feel guilty. If there's a mistake, hey, listen, we slipped up, I own it, and I'm just going to put my boots back on and get right back to work. We don't have to feel guilty. We don't have to beat ourselves up.
Give it over to the Lord.
Give it to the Lord, absolutely. And finally, acceptance and then hope. And that's where we want to go. Now, for most people, I want to talk about a good friend of mine. A good friend of mine. The acceptance and hope usually does not happen instantaneous, although for some people it has happened instantaneous. Some people said, happened in a moment. And I wish that for everybody. For a lot of people, it is a gradual thing over time. And there's a good friend of mine who told me that he was dealing with a particular substance, and one day he just forgot to take it. So he was getting victory, and he doesn't realize, I've been given victory over this. I forgot I even had to do this in the first place. It just surprised him almost. That's what it looks like. I got some people laughing because they may or may not be in the house tonight. Great. So let's talk about this. How are you coping with these stages of grief? Have you ever had to deal with this process in the past? Can you identify these different stages? Have you ever had to deal with that before?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we probably all have.
All of them, for sure.
Yeah, all of them, huh? And what helped you through when you were going through this process, going through the grief process? Was there anything that helped you get through that?
Yeah.
What's that?
The biggest thing, and really the only thing, is prayer and God.
Yeah. That's what kept you together, huh?
Yeah.
Now, as you're...
Brings me back from that edge.
Brings you back from the edge.
Yeah.
Now, you've got victory. The Lord has given you victory over smoking, and it was instantaneous. But you talked a little bit about how there was a battle before that. Did you ever... Go ahead.
All right, before that,
Yeah.
They always have, well, when I started, they advertised springtime, they advertised cool, they advertised all
Sure.
this other cigarettes. So, you try, Bel-Air, you try them all to find out.
Which one's yours, huh?
Yeah, which one, this one's supposed to give you better satisfaction than that one, you know what I mean? And it doesn't do it.
It doesn't, it's all marketing.
But if you're trying to quit, sometimes you go 2 or 3 weeks without it, a month without it, and then you fail, you go at that. Something will go wrong, and you go back. And so the biggest thing, that last time, with a local church, I just went to it. My daughter-in-law asked me to go, and that wasn't, I think I went to it once or twice before I just went through it that time, and
Sure.
and the Lord took it. So, but you will fight it. You will. If you're doing it normally, you're gonna fight it.
When you were doing this before, you talked about how there was a little bit of time went away, and you come back, and you're fighting that fight. Did you ever make those bargains with yourself? I'll just smoke this one time, or
I put the patches.
Yep.
And when you go to sleep with me,
Sure.
I went to sleep. I was being a nightmare. And
Really?
You know,
Oh, yeah.
and you think the monster's coming at you, everything. I mean, everything coming.
Doctor mentioned this the other day.
And so, I don't recommend patches. I might
Really?
work around, maybe, but
Not for you, huh?
but not for me.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for
I don't
taking that.
recommend the antidepressant personally
Yeah.
either.
Well, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to watch a brief video as we've been doing. I like these. These can be pretty humorous. So we're going to watch this brief video and have a discussion about it. Let's watch this real quick.
That might not work.
It's okay. I'll just have a little bit.
Right?
That's enough. So that's one of the myths about smoking. So he was drinking some rat poison. You know, during yesterday's session, we talked about, Dr. Randall talked about how there's so many different chemicals in a cigarette, and many of them were found, I believe, in rat poison. So we've got this gentleman there. He's going to drink a whole bunch of rat poison, and he goes, well, that's terrible. I'm not going to do that. That's not a healthy choice. I'm just going to have a little bit of rat poison. I'm not like some unhealthy guy or anything here. So he takes a little bit of that, but still, there's no drinking rat poison. It's still not good. So we talked a little bit about the patches. We're going to talk about some ways that people bargain, right? Because in the beginning we said that when you're giving up tobacco, you may be going through many of the stages of grief. One of them is bargaining. And what some people do when they're bargaining is they turn to these tobacco light products, vaping, hookah, chew. And they think, well, I'm not smoking, now I just chew, and they use that as the alternative. But even if it was true there was less nicotine, you're still putting that into your system. It's still pretty rough. So are light cigarettes and smokeless tobacco safe alternatives? The answer is no. This is a graphic. I think Dr. Randall had a much better one, but it goes over the same material. Cigarettes have cancer-causing chemicals. I'm going to go ahead and change the screen so everybody watching can take a look. Thousands of cancer-causing chemicals.
That's why it's so hard to stop smoking these days.
Yeah. Benzene. Vinyl chlorides used to make pipes. Formaldehyde used to embalm dead body. Toxic metals, arsenic, lead, chromium, poison gases, carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide, ammonia, butane. All this horrible stuff. More than 7,000 chemicals. So when we smoke a cigarette, we're putting all of that into our body. So it's definitely something that we want to get rid of. Now, here's some truth about smokeless tobacco. So smokeless tobacco, some people have gone to that, so it's a less toxic form of tobacco, but it's still horrible for you. The Surgeon General actually requires something to be placed on that thing. And this is not a safer alternative to cigarettes. It does that to cigars too. Some people will go to cigars. I was a cigar smoker. This is not a safer alternative to cigarettes. It still puts all of these terrible chemicals into your body. It still can lead to nicotine addiction. It's the cause of tongue, mouth, and esophagus cancer. Some people, when they chew, it causes lots of problems with their mouth. You can see them losing teeth. This is horrible. Increases the risk for stillbirths when used in pregnancy, and using smokeless tobacco can cause serious health problems. So is it bad for your heart? Yes. Smokeless tobacco contains nicotine, which causes blood vessels to constrict, and that's going to cause a lot of heart problems. 1 pack a day cigarette smokers are exposed to 180 milligrams of nicotine per day. A tobacco chewer, snuffer, or dipper can have as much as 130, 250 milligrams per day of nicotine. One of the things, too, is if we're bargaining with ourselves, we're still in that stage where, okay, I'm not going to smoke cigarettes, I'm just going to do chew, and that's me coming down. One of the things to take into consideration there is that because you're under the impression that that is a lesser form of tobacco, you may be using it more throughout the day. So, okay, let's say I'm drinking soda, and I'm going to stop drinking soda. So I'm going to drink Diet Coke. So now I drink 6 Diet Cokes throughout the day. Well, you're putting more of the substance in you than you originally were. So sometimes people will chew much more than they need to. Smokeless tobacco is not a good substitute. So smokeless tobacco is just as addictive as cigarettes. It still uses nicotine, and of course, the marketing to young people, which I think is illegal now, who use smokeless tobacco are more likely to become cigarette smokers. So the smokeless tobacco is definitely a gateway substance. It's even illegal for them to advertise on social media for that reason. So the bottom line, the U.S. Surgeon General states that smokeless tobacco is not a safe substitute for cigarettes. If you use them, quit. So let's take a look at this. Tobacco, not only is it bad for your heart, tobacco causes cancer. Cancer is the second most common cause of death after heart disease. 30% of all cancer deaths are attributable to smoking. So let's take a look at both of those lines together. Cancer is the second most common cause of death in general, and 30% of that is due to smoking. That's how significant, with the significant loss that this industry has on humanity in general. 30% of the second leading cause of death in general from disease is directly attributable to smoking. It's the cause of many cancers. You can read these here. Lungs, 90%. Larynx, oral cavities, esophagus, pancreas, bladder, kidney, and stomach. All of these parts of your system can be damaged. So let's take a look at some of the research from lung cancer. Lung cancer has been the leading cause of cancer death in men since the early 1950s. And I believe the U.S. Surgeon General came out with their report on tobacco in 1964, I believe. So they probably weren't doing as much research as they probably could have before 1950 because there wasn't as much of a cause for concern. If you look at advertising in the 30s and 20s, they were talking about the health benefits of tobacco. And the Attorney General comes out and goes, whoa, we've got a big issue. And then, of course, you have lots of research. So it's probably a bit earlier than the 1950s. We just weren't doing the research. Lung cancer has overtaken breast cancer as the leading cause of cancer death in women, continues to rise. And it's usually not detected early enough. That's why when we go to the stages of grief, some people have the denial stage. So they're saying, well, I don't have it, it's not an issue because I'm not showing any symptoms. You may have a lot of issues that you're just not cognizant of. There may be things that are happening that are below your awareness, and that once they manifest, it might be too late. So that's something to consider. There's a lot of early detection. And often it's already started to spread throughout the body before a person is diagnosed. Here is some information. We're going to talk about rational thinking, but you should keep this in mind. 9 out of 10 smokers with lung cancer will die. Wow. So if you get lung cancer as a smoker, 90% chance that you will die from that. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and actually, there's a very specific statistic I wanted to show here. So 90% of smokers, here it is, only 1 in 10 survives beyond the 5-year mark. So if you have it and you survive, only your life expectancy at that point is 5 years after you're discovered to have lung cancer and you're a smoker. So it's very, very dangerous to be in this business. But good news, there's a way to reduce your risk. When a person stops smoking for 5 years, their risk of lung cancer decreases to 40% of a current smoker. And Dr. Randall talked a lot about that, about how you kind of restore. Now, is that accurate, Dr. Randall? Because I think that you mentioned something different. I think you mentioned that when someone stops smoking, their lungs kind of go back to that of a non-smoker. What was your?
Well, my lungs right now.
Okay.
Not really good.
Okay.
Just before I come in here, I had to take a look at it. So,
Oh, really?
And I got inhalers. I got 2 different inhalers, and I have to go to the doctor and get my medication. You know.
Sure.
Go to the pharmacy, whatever. See, that never showed up when I smoked.
Oh, really?
And none of that, I don't understand that. My lungs are terrible, you know, and I have a hard job, you know, when I do your job, it's gonna take me about twice as long to do it.
Yep.
Times as long.
Sure.
And I can do it, but it takes me a while, that's all. Some days I can do it fine, other days I can't, so that's the way.
Sure.
And today is one of the days I have to take my fertilizer, and I might not take it for 2 or 3 days. And so that's the way it works.
That'd be less.
But I have to take I got to take inhaler twice in the morning, twice at night. And then I got the Mercy one. This one here, this is my Mercy
Sure.
inhaler, and I got another one inhaler. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
take it twice in the morning, twice in the night.
Yeah. Is this correct that it only goes back to 40% of that, or didn't you say something? What is it? You said 75% or?
It's,
Uh,
it was a graduated thing,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
at
Oh, okay.
different levels, so at this 5-year mark,
I
I
see.
think it was
40%, but
15
at
years, it was like
10 or
75%.
yeah.
That's for cardiovascular.
20%.
Cardiovascular, okay.
Okay.
For lungs, yeah, each 9 months you can increase.
That's what I'm missing. It's
That's
incremental.
7 years
Exactly.
and some. So
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
Half and half.
the good news is that, like you said, the longer you gain more of that territory back. So that's good. It's not just that tobacco takes something from you, you can fight back. Hey, give me my stuff back. I want my lungs back.
Right.
Those are mine, so you can take them back the longer
Why
you
not
want.
get the money back?
Wow.
That you spent.
That you spent,
I
yeah.
can only speak for myself, my lungs are already feeling better.
They are. Praise the Lord, your lungs are already feeling great.
I had that raspy,
Sure.
I don't know how to explain it, but they're feeling better already.
So let's start out here. We talked about the stages of grief and how when you're giving up nicotine and tobacco, you may mirror the stages of grief, right? The denial, the bargaining, things of that nature. That's when, especially when in the bargaining stage, the use of rational thinking is going to be so important. So I want to go over logical fallacies. So argumentum ad populum, appear to popularity. So this is popular, everybody else is doing it, therefore I should do it. That's not rational thinking, right? Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's very good. You guys remember Jinko jeans? They were popular, they were horrible. No? You guys don't know those? I'm sure. No? Maybe I'm dating myself there. Anyway, I'm sure we can talk about fads that didn't make sense. They were kind of like bell bottoms.
Right. Or are we talking about these ones that are
Oh,
tight at the ankle?
Sure. Well, we could go on all day. There's a million. Another one is argumentum ad historiam. Piety. This is older, therefore it's true, right? So this way of doing things is the older way of doing things, therefore it's the right way. Well, no, just because we could have just been doing something ineffective for a really long time, right? What's another a fallacy that you can name or think of, or that you experience people saying?
well, it didn't hurt so-and-so.
Mm.
They never were affected by it. They died at 102 and they smoked for,
I'm
eons.
5 years old.
That's a really good point. Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah. they lived to be 99 and they smoked every day, so I'm going to be okay. Well, that's a fallacy, because just because it didn't happen to him doesn't mean it's not going to happen to you, right? So we want to make sure that we're using rational thinking, and that's why we've emphasized through the seminar the importance of making sure our frontal lobes are as accurate and firing on all cylinders. We want to stay away from alcohol, marijuana, even caffeine, because these chemicals can impair our ability to use reason. And when our ability to use reason is malfunctioning, we're more susceptible to falling into the irrational bargaining. So what do we want to make our choices based on? Established facts. So the established fact that, it doesn't affect people, that's not necessarily a fact. The facts that come from, it's from science, from the American Heart Association, that it does affect people, that it is a serious killer. Actual risks. Look at the actual risks. We want to minimize internal stress. So I want to jump down to that one, because one of the stages of grief is guilt, right? And that's where you're becoming your own bigot. Why did I start smoking? And think of all the money I would have saved, and now you feel guilty. That's creating a stressor. That's actually impairing your ability to keep going, right? So we want to make sure that we're minimizing internal stress, that we're actually assisting ourselves in getting better. We're not making ourselves feel guilty. Because if you're beating yourself up, you're causing a stressor. The stressor is going to want to drive you to nicotine to deal with the stress. So listen, there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. So we don't have to be like that. And minimize external stress. If you can use your vacation time, take your vacation time. Take 1 to 2 weeks. And then just, vacation time?
Yeah,
you don't have any vacation time? Yeah. If you have it. This one's a little bit outside the locus of our control because of a conflict with friends and family. Sometimes our friends and family can make things more difficult. Unfortunately, that's the case. But we want to do what we can to minimize that. It's okay to tell people, even friends who don't give you a hard time, but just to tell them, listen, I'm gonna take a break for a week or two. I need a little bit of time. I'm working on some things. That way you're not inviting these stressors, especially if those friends or family members smoke. You want to make sure you're not around them for that temptation. What are some healthy strategies? Well, repeating, I choose to be tobacco free, and which one is my preference? I just looked at one person.
I'm not a smoker.
Boom! I am not a smoker. Keep up your physical activity. I know Bill has been busy like a bee, and you said something, if I may, that I thought was very helpful. I asked how you were doing, and you said that being busy, having things to do, helped you focus not on the temptation, it focused on
good distraction.
Yeah, good distraction. We're going to keep drinking water, eating moderate-sized and healthy meals, getting as much sleep as possible so that we're not sleep-deprived, we're not stressed, spending as much time as possible with non-smokers, and rewarding yourself with success, but not with cigarettes. Okay, doing something else. And then, of course, we're asking God for help because we know that through Christ, all things are possible. We can do all things through Him. So we're going to calculate the costs of smoking. Let's take a look here. So we're going to calculate the cost of smoking a day, a week, a month, and a year. We're actually going to skip this step because if you remember the very first day I actually opened with this information, that in the state of Maine, the average cost for a cigarette was $6.62. There are many brands that were higher label that are more expensive than that. And at the end of the year, it came out to, I think, $2,368 if you're smoking 1 pack per day. So if you're smoking 2 packs a day, you can take that and double it. So there's real saving, there's real financial reward in simply abandoning the habit. And of course, continue to seek spiritual help. Here's some Bible verses. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. He's the one. If you commit your way to Him and you put your trust in Him, He is going to bring this to pass. He is your shield. He is going to give you this victory. Yeah, so these are great verses. Dr. Randall, at the beginning of the seminar, advised us to have some swords. So these are little index cards that we can write Bible verses on to give us hope. So when we're feeling that urge to go back, we can whip out a sword and have the encouragement from God's word. Here's Isaiah 40:29. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases strength. So when we are weak, he is strong. Here's another one from Psalm 27:14. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. David could say this with certainty, and I believe God is willing to do the exact same for you. So we're thinking about using appropriate reason, and in times when we feel like I can't do it, I'm not strong enough, think about all the people who have already had deliverance from this, and you are not special from that person, right? The same God who could assist this other person in victory is the same God who can assist you in victory. And he has the same desire that we be able to be free from the substance. So think on that and rest in him. And at that point, that's going to be the end of this presentation. Any thoughts or questions about tonight's presentation before Dr. Randall comes up?
No, I was just thinking about when I was smoking the most amount that I was smoking, and the brand that I bought, it's actually for me about $9,000 a year.
Wow, $9,000 a year.
Yeah.
But hey, no guilt. Now you've just saved yourself $9,000 a year. So,
Must put it on 5 rows.
Do what now?
5 rows or something.
Yeah, Marlboros.
Okay, that's a hot.
and for those of you who are watching, thank you so much for watching. You can go ahead and leave a comment. Also share this with a friend if you'd like to encourage them to come to one of our seminars. I want to mention this while Dr. Randall is getting ready here. We're going to go back to the Belfast Y for Monday, and stay tuned for the other nights. But if you know someone who is interested in gaining victory, we still have a couple days. We'd love to meet them, even if they haven't done the whole seminar. We could meet with them, get some contact information, and we'll be doing this again. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Dr. Randall.
Thank you, Brother Michael.
Looks familiar.
Very familiar.
I think his name is Doug. I'm being facetious.
Yeah, that's a pretty popular name, huh? All right. So this is part 5 of the smoking cessation presentation, and as always, I like to. What did you learn from Michael's presentation? What did you pinpoint from his presentation?
I learned that for me, pinpointing, for me, stressors is something to get in hand, and like I said, today has been the least amount of stress for me. So, and triggers, and they run hand in hand, for sure. So, I had a trigger before I came over here. And it was very difficult to deal with.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like we talked about last night. It was those grenades at you. Those are like the.
That was a grenade.
Or the mines, the landmines. Sometimes you step on those landmines.
Yeah.
And, but we can recover. We can recover even as triggers and all these things. Well, this presentation I'm going to talk about the alternatives. One thing that Mike was speaking about was the quote unquote alternatives for tobacco, for smoking. And it seems like, there's no way out. Even with these quote-unquote alternatives, they're somewhat addictive, and we'll talk about those as well. As always, I like to open up with the word of Scripture, and the Scripture is taken from Psalm 124, verse 7. It says, "Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowlers." So have you ever seen, a bird trap, or a vicious, or a bear trap, or any trap? This is what David is saying. Basically, my soul, my life has escaped as a bird out of a trap, a snare of the fowlers. And the snare is broken and we are escaped. So I say congratulations You are escaped just being here. This is a powerful opportunity to escape out of this snare. And this is what nicotine is. Nicotine is a snare. And once you're in it, it's almost like you're trapped in a cage. You can't stop.
I agree.
We talked about nicotine last night. Again, you don't have to know these. This is the chemical makeup of nicotine. But basically, nicotine is, like I said, is a snare. And it's been known for a long time, even by the cigarette makers. One cigarette maker, Philip Morris, an advertising agency, says this: nicotine was perceived to be the substance which was key to overall smoking satisfaction. Importantly, it was what many smokers sought from cigarettes. So it wasn't the cigarettes themselves they're seeking, but they're actually seeking the nicotine in the cigarettes. Despite all the negative things in the cigarettes, the thing that we were craving was the nicotine. And it says health implications of nicotine were acknowledged, but its effects were thought to be short-term and sometimes pleasant and desirable. So they said, you thought, or the people who were smoking, they thought that the effects were short-term and sometimes pleasant and desirable. And nicotine is not pleasant and desirable. And it's also not short-term. It lasts a long time. Like I said, it takes 8 hours for it to get even 90% of it out of your system. That's not short-term.
No.
But are these any better? Are the gums any better? Or are the patches any better? Let's find out. So this is a medical journal or article says that the FDA approved Nicorette gum, the first pharmaceutical nicotine replacement therapy or therapeutic agent for use by prescription as a tobacco cessation aid in 1984, with nicotine patches following in 1991. In July 1984, a tobacco company consumer marketing representative wrote the manager of sales communications, noting similarities between the effects and sensations of the gums, the nicotine gums, with smokeless tobacco. As if smoking tobacco was good. In an article of the Nicorette in Consumer Reports, the observation reflected the understanding inside the tobacco industry that NRT, or nicotine replacement therapy, was not a cessation aid. So Philip Morris and all these people know that chewing the gum or the patches is not a good cessation aid, as consumers perceive. So you thought it was, but it's not. Perceived to be, but a different kind of tobacco product. So it's just another product of tobacco. It continues to say tobacco companies abandoned the idea of producing nicotine replacement products when internal industry research conducted in the 1970s found that consumers believed nicotine was dangerous. So we believe that it was dangerous. So now they're saying, why don't we give them something that is dangerous, but even less of the danger? As a result, in the 1980s, Philip Morris focused on reducing nicotine products. Project ART, or ART, for example, sought to develop low nicotine tobacco products and project extra aimed to create a product extra aimed to create increased tar products. So basically, what they're saying is, okay, they don't like the tobacco or the smoking anymore. Let's create something else. However, focus groups testing these products convened by the Leo Burton Advertising Agency in 1987 revealed that smokers no longer viewed nicotine in cigarettes as a health risk.
Wow.
The spread of NRT had changed public opinion about nicotine. So just introducing this product to the market, nicotine is not such a bad thing anymore. Burnett report, yeah, it is very horrible. But this is what people do. This is a snare.
Yeah,
Sure is.
trap.
It's a snare. It's a trap.
Mhm.
And it doesn't lead you to stop smoking. It actually leads you to continue smoking.
Wow.
Smoking and chewing gum.
And you're paying for both.
Yep.
Do you think these companies believe their own thing, or do
No.
they do this? They
No.
know.
I'll show you.
Okay,
I'll
thanks.
show you that. Burnett reported that the fact that nicotine gum was prescribed by their doctors and endorsed by their pharmacy led some people to conclude that nicotine must not be all that bad for them. So because the doctor said, okay, stop smoking, but here's the nicotine gum.
Mhm.
I prescribe this to you. You can use this. So nicotine is not a problem anymore. Philip Morris also says that groups were not overly concerned about being addicted to nicotine.
Wow.
They conducted studies. It appeared that they believed that addiction was the price they paid for enjoying smoking. In fact, because they did not understand nicotine's effects, we don't understand nicotine's effects, but they do.
Right.
Or at most believed that nicotine passed through their bodies very quickly. And like I said, it doesn't. And they had fewer concerns about it. Another one, this is British American Tobacco, it says this, and the answer to your question, Brother Mike, it says, studies of the efficacy of nicotine gum or transdermal patches on smoking cessation invariably show a significant benefit in the short term, but only a small advantage, if any, over placebo in the long term, 6+ months. There's no advantage to taking nicotine gum or patches over a regular gum.
Right.
There's no advantage.
I'd rather chew just a regular gum.
Exactly.
I was going to.
There's no advantage.
Yep.
One could make an argument for the industry supporting development of alternative nicotine delivery systems, gums or patches, so on, inhalers, by considering them in the same philosophical light as brand extensions. So basically what they're saying is, okay, you don't have to smoke the cigarettes, you can chew the gum. You don't have to chew the gum, you can do the inhalations. You can have to do the inhalations, just do the patch. So it's just a brand, so you can say Philip Morris patches, or Philip Morris gums.
Wow.
So they're making money no matter what you do.
Exactly.
You try to run away.
It's a snare. It's a snare by the fowler. So consider them in the same philosophical light as brand extensions, or in this case, a business extension. We're extending our business to other people. The rationale is that if anyone is going to take away our business, it should be us.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So they know that basically these things are very addictive
Healthy.
and unhealthy. Nicotine is unhealthy and addictive. And they're saying, instead of people taking our money away, why not create our own NRTs, basically? If someone's going to make that, why don't we make it? So they're not taking our business away. And like it says, we're not all too smart, because these companies, they do market these things, and they're not only marketing to adults, they're also marketing to children. You know, teenagers right now are smoking, and they're using e-cigarettes.
Like those candy cigarettes.
The candy e-cigarettes, they have peppermint, they have watermelon, they have, that's marketed to the teenagers and younger generations. So are e-cigarettes even better? Well, I think Mike touched upon it, and basically they're not. And there's different types of nicotine delivery systems. There's the first generation, the second generation, and now we have the fourth generation and all these generations. But they deliver the same thing, nicotine. And nicotine is not good for our bodies. And like I said, no matter how much you get, it takes 8 hours for 90% of the nicotine to come out of our bodies. And it causes issues, not just physically, but also mentally as well.
The people I see smoking these e-cigarettes inhale so much more smoke too.
Exactly.
It's like they
Exactly.
fill up the room.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's aerosolized too, so you're getting a lot more potent delivery from that in many cases. So is this a smoking alternative? Is e-cigarettes a smoking alternative? From the CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, it says e-cigarettes are not currently approved by the FDA as a quit smoking aid. Yet sometimes they're advertised as is.
Not surprised.
The U.S. Preventative Services Task Force, a group of health experts that makes recommendations about preventative health care, has concluded that evidence is insufficient to recommend e-cigarettes for smoking cessation in adults, including pregnant adults. So it's not a good replacement. These are not good replacements. How about other things like Chantix and other oral medications? Are these good replacements? What do you guys think?
Not familiar. It says starting pack. It's not. Oh, it's starting to use the thing that's supposed to get you off.
Exactly.
Not starting to smoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are supposed to help you to come off of
Okay.
stop smoking. Well, there is quote unquote evidence that says a percentage of people, and it's less than, let's say, 10%, have used Chantix and stopped.
We're successful.
We're successful, but I mean, those are long-term studies, by the way, so it doesn't tell you the person went back. But this is from, I won't tell you who makes Chantix, but you can probably guess by the sorry, it says in a placebo-controlled pre-marketing studies, the most common adverse events associated with Chantix, less than 5%, and twice the rate seen in placebo-treated patients were nausea, abnormal or vivid, unusual or strange dreams, constipation, flatulence, and vomiting. You see how they just put that in the middle?
And it's usually in small print.
Abnormal, vivid, unusual, or strange dreams. This is interfering your sleeping cycle.
Wow.
But not only that, guess this. There's a popular website for doctors called RX List, and it says this Chantix causes this. There have been reports of depression, mania, psychosis, hallucinations, paranoia, delusions, homicidal ideation, aggression, hostility, anxiety, and panic, as well as suicidal ideations, suicide attempt, and completed suicide in patients attempting to quit smoking while taking Chantix.
Right.
So is this a good alternative?
What is it that does all that stuff? I mean, that's just incredible.
It's so Chantix, varenicline is supposed to help with things like depression even, but it can cause depression. It changes the brain.
That always confuses me about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it pushes you over the other side sometimes. It makes you even worse.
I guess the most I ever tried was just the patches, and that didn't work. So
Yeah, the patches don't work.
And I didn't try anything else. So I never got into the other stuff.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's why I'm presenting this tonight. These things don't work. As a matter of fact,
helps.
the stress ball works.
You like that?
It helps.
Yeah.
I do like it, actually. It smells good.
Yeah.
Be sure to tell Nora Taylor he made it.
I'm going to. I'm going to thank her.
So thank Nora, because the stress balls do help. They smell wonderful. How about bupropion? Ever heard about bupropion or Wellbutrin?
Wellbutrin, yeah. I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's used for smoking cessation as
I was
well.
on it for a short time.
Yeah.
It definitely gives you vivid dreams.
That's another one.
It affects your emotions.
Oh, really?
I couldn't take it. I
Yes.
took it for a few days and I was up and down like a yo-yo.
You're taking my slide. You're taking my presentations from me. But it causes anxiety. These are more common side effects. Anxiety, dry mouth, hyperventilation, irregular heartbeats, irritability, restlessness, shaking, and trouble sleeping.
Yep.
Wow.
So the vivid dreams. These are more common side effects of Wellbutrin. Or how about other possible side effects? Confusion, fainting, false beliefs that cannot be changed by facts.
I've had some of those symptoms too.
Having extreme distrust of people, seeing, hearing, or feeling things that are not there.
Wow.
Seizures, trouble concentrating, actions that are out of control, anger, assaulting or attacking others, being aggressive or impulsive, and even suicide attempts.
And this is from their literature.
Yeah, oh yes.
Wow. False beliefs that cannot be changed by facts.
I mean, so it seems like there's no good alternatives out there. At least what the world offers, you know.
Right.
But there are good alternatives that God offers.
Amen.
And we mentioned licorice, and licorice is a very good replacement therapy.
Oh, good.
And these I wouldn't say it will definitively help you to stop or quit smoking, but it helps with the cravings and the urges, among other things, other issues like headaches and nausea and these things. So licorice, chewing on the sticks. And some people, they like the oral fixation of like the cigarettes in their mouth. So they can also put the stick in your mouth and chew on it. And that helps as well. You can also use the candy. You can use the candy after a meal. So people like to smoke after meals.
Right.
So chew on licorice candy right after a meal. That will help. How about dandelion root? Dandelion root, it grows wild in Maine. I'm seeing it everywhere basically. But dandelion root is very good for detox. It helps you to detox from things like nicotine and other things like that. You know, I've seen. I went to a lifestyle center, and I'll give you two stories. One, we do something that's called a wet sheet pack, and I'll introduce this as well as something that can be helpful. And the wet sheet pack, basically, it's cold sheet that's wrapped over you, and you wrap another sheet over you, another sheet over you. It's like a wool sheet over that. And people who are detoxing from cigarettes or alcohol, when you take the sheets off, and the bottom sheet is usually a white sheet, and you can see all the detox, toxins coming out on the sheet, especially people who are smoking, and all the nicotine. You can smell that the person is smoking. Exactly, and that helps you to detox. And dandelion does that. Dandelion helps you to detox from these toxins in your body. Another thing you can do is things like a sauna. Going into a sauna helps you to detox and pull out these toxins from your body. There is a lifestyle center in Alabama called Living Springs, and people will go in there and they're trying to detox from cocaine and all these things and nicotine. The people who smoke cigarettes, they go in there and they detox, and you come out, they say, I haven't smoked in days. And guess what it smells? Guess what the room smells like? Like cigarettes. Because it's detoxing or pulling those toxins from your bodies. Lobelia flowers is also good. Lobelia is it's known in Native American history as Indian tobacco, and they used to smoke it. I don't say to smoke it, but it's very helpful for lung issues. There's also if you suffer from lung issues, you can use lobelia. You can use it as a tea, and I'll mention how you can make your tea. But you can also get it in capsule forms. Helps with asthma, COPD, all these things as well. Also helps with cancer as well.
What about mullein?
Mullein is also good. That's another good one. But mullein is not known to have the detox, not detox, but helping with the nicotine cravings. Lobelia is helpful for nicotine cravings. Mullein is very good for healing the lungs.
Yes.
But in terms of detox from nicotine or helping with nicotine is not. How to make herbal teas. And again, you don't have to make your own herbal teas. There's other formulations out there you can get herbal teas as well. So you can go out and get them. I'm not sure if they sell at the co-op, but you can get them from places like Amazon and order them as well. Licorice as well. You can get your licorice sticks from Amazon as well. But in order to make your teas, it depends on the constituency of the herb. If it's leaves or powder or bark, you can take a picture of this if you want. This is how you make your teas. If it's leaves, you want to boil the water first and then put the leaves in the water and let it steep for 30 minutes, at least 20 to 30 minutes. If it's powder, you want to boil the water and then add the powder to it and let it steep for at least 15 minutes. If it's barks or roots, now dandelion is a root, and licorice is also a root. So you want to boil them gently for 20 minutes and then let it steep. So for every cup, you want to use a tablespoon or a teaspoon to a tablespoon. Actually, for barks, 1 tablespoon of bark, roots or seeds in 1 cup of water and boil that gently. So I hope that's helpful. And like I said, you don't necessarily have to get the teas in your water as well. You don't have to drink the pure water. You can throw some licorice sticks in there and let it marinate in there.
I love that. Great idea.
Yeah, so those are things that you can do to help you curb the cravings and the appetite, but also from the side effects of the nicotine detox.
I was eating plenty of walnuts today.
Yes.
I saw that.
Good brain food too, isn't it?
They are very
Why,
good.
you know why I say that?
What's that?
Because when you look at a walnut, actually, it's reminiscent of a brain.
It looks like a brain.
Isn't
Yeah.
that kind of funny how the things that help you with certain different parts of your body look very similar to that?
Exactly.
That's God's design.
What are our lungs called? Like they're called lobes.
Lobes?
Okay.
Lobes. Yeah.
Lobes?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have different lobes.
Yeah.
We have the upper lobe and the lower lobes, and so forth and so on. And lobelia is an herb that helps with the lungs. Go figure. So basically, you can use God's creation. You have to use man's creation to get rid of nicotine addiction. And like I said, that's just another snare. So that was basically what I wanted to talk about tonight.
I much prefer God's remedies.
Isn't it true? I think I have to pull the Greek on this, but one of the words in Revelation for sorcery is related to
Pharmakia.
pharmakia, and the main word we get pharmacies from is sorcery.
Yeah.
And you looked at
Or
that.
big pharma.
You looked at the description. If I think I'm putting a spell on someone, they're irritable and they want to kill each other and they have visions.
Yep.
That just blows my mind. That's
Exactly.
Well,
That is so true. That's a good point.
Gives confirmation.
It's
That's a
not.
good point.
It's Babylon anyway.
I want to put a spell up on you so you can go murder someone.
Yeah.
And, it's we don't really think about these things, but
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So I'll quote to the scripture, and it's from Isaiah 49, verse 25. We started off by saying that David is saying, I'm a bird that's been freed from the snare of the fowler, right? And I've been freed. My soul has been made free. And Isaiah 49, verse 25 says this, but thus saith the Lord, that even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contendeth with thee, and I will save thy children. Like I said, even our children nowadays are addicted to things like nicotine, but God is saying that even your children shall be delivered from those who are trying to capture them in their snare. So I pray that this was a blessing to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
I think you guys are great. You answered all the